Hey, what's going on, guys? It's like a hero. Hope you're doing well. Today, a new information dropped from the developers. They had their first of two future developer update live streams. So we're going to go over the notes and TLDR really fast. It looks like there's a lot of positive things in here. And so I think there's enough that I'm excited to play season two. I won't be buying the season pass, of course, because I don't want to give them any of my money anymore. However, it does seem like there's a lot of good changes. So we're going to try to go through them as quickly as possible here. I will timestamp these so that you can find them easily if you are watching this video. And make sure you like the video if you like it. Make sure to subscribe for future content. Let's get right into the first thing, which is endgame bosses. So bosses are going to be unlocked, and they've kind of showed a little chart of how you do that. By doing specific things that are considered end game content. So each of these bosses does have a specific loot table, and these new end game bosses are going to be something that persists through future seasons. I do like that approach. I don't like the way current seasons where like you lose everything, and then I'm not saying like you lose everything. I'm saying like the content that there was to do is completely removed from the game. So I really like the Path of Exile format that they do, where they kind of join it into an eternal game, and then future seasons also have the previous season's content. But this is a sign kind of a little bit in that direction. So the end game bosses that you do now will, in future seasons, they'll be building upon that. So certain bosses require specific gear. Resistance gear is what it mentions in here to defeat them. So you're going to have to like build certain, cold, I would imagine, lightning resist. They did mention that they will have in the next, I think October 10th is when they said, they are going to actually have a specific portion of that be all about resistances, your buckets like crit chance, crit damage, vulnerable damage, all those. Again, it's going to be a big part of their next developer stream. So the final boss, Uber boss, Duriel, will have a chance to drop Uber unique items as well. So here's kind of like the format. So you have the 1 to 50. So that's your World Tier 1, World Tier 2. And you have some of the things that you can do to kind of unlock those world bosses. So, and then you have like World Boss Legion events here. And then for the 50 to 70, that's World Tier 3. You have there some other world bosses unlocked. Now, I imagine that these world bosses will only be available in World Tier 1 and 2. So I don't know how much people are going to quickly speed through it to even matter, but hopefully, maybe I just missed that part of the thing there, but you could see here 71 through 100, you have more world bosses, and then you have Lord Zir here on the right side. So pretty good little thing there about world bosses. Vampiric Powers, the season 2 is all about this mechanic here. 22 different vampire powers that you can collect, and you're going to have different armor pieces that are going to be dropping 3 types with 3 different types of packs, and those will activate your vampiric powers. So you'll apply them to your gear, and then or your armor, sorry, and then you will be able to either inject what they say and then cleanse. And of course, you will be unlocking these and upgrading them through the seasonal currency, which is called Potent Blood. So you can see here we have some activation costs here, some requirements to have those activated, and it's that Potent Blood, that currency. So a couple examples here that they put on there. Something about with Overpower. So an enemy you spawn. When you overpower an enemy, you spawn 3 volatile blood drops. Collecting those blood drops causes it to explode. Dealing damage, you have another one that's a lucky hit chance based one that inflicts vampiric curses, and then so therefore that vampiric curse has a chance to spread to other enemies. And vampiric curses, stored souls, deal 200% increased damage. Very similar mechanic to, on the surface level to the last season, just kind of a different theme of there. So, and then another one that you could put on there is evade. When you evade, you turn into a cloud of bats, becoming unstoppable for 3 seconds. So pretty neat little things. They kind of showed those 3 off. I think that's going to be good. I don't, in the stream, they spoke about like different builds and stuff like that. I honestly don't know yet. I imagine it'll be very similar. There'll be some meta builds as well as with most things, but it's, you know, just a glimpse of what that's going to look like. The next thing is the actual blood harvest. So let me scroll up here a little bit. This is their big new event. It is a Helltide version of vampires. Okay, so basically, you know, if you're familiar with Diablo 4, you have the Helltide zones. They last for about an hour, right? And you're going in there, you're farming currency, and you're opening up chests, right? And you kill a bunch of mobs, they increase the density there. Blood Harvest is very similar to that. However, it is kind of a grayer color from the trailer. It was, and I'll include the trailer in the, or a link to the video, but it's kind of like a gray Helltide. So a gray tide, let's call it like that. And there are vampires in there, you know, kind of cursed enemies. Basically, if I'm being honest, they look like reskinned NPCs from other zones. However, this Helltide-like zone, the Blood Harvest, is starting level 1, so you don't have to wait till the end game. And it just rotates different zones. Then in that zone, you're getting a currency which is similar to the Helltide currency, except that currency, unlike the Helltide currency, which I would really like them to also add this to the Helltide, is the Blood Harvest currency. It stays with you. So the event ends, you don't have to spend it all, it'll end, and that currency that you earn stays with you. I think this would be a great change to also do in the Helltides. Why not just let me not spend my my currency from the Helltides? I don't see why not. It's a great, I think it's a good thing. And, you know, it looks like another event to do besides Helltides. So they specifically said that this will not replace those Helltides. So that's good to see. Next is item changes. So gems will no longer drop. Whenever you are playing the game, you will automatically receive gem shard materials. So you'll just get it. And then you will use that currency to make your gems that you need. Overall enchantment costs have been reduced, so enchanting your gear has been reduced. Crafting materials will now also drop in place of low quality gear. So that's pretty cool. Like, that's nice. These currencies, you're not going to have to get all this like stuff. I think that's going to save a lot of time of like spending in the zones, deconstructing everything, and I think that's a really good change there. Normal and magic items no longer drop in World Tier 3. That's nice. Ancestral items will only drop in World Tier 4. So just to review, that's pretty big, the overall changes. I think the gems is a much needed change. It's a like great quality of life. Enchantment costs have been updated, so reduced, like I said earlier, and the crafting materials. So that is, I mean, these are good changes. I know that the community has been talking a lot about these types, you know, the amount of time that you spend inside at a vendor, just getting rid of junk. I think this will help with that. So item power of loot will be directly correlated with monster level. Whisper caches will provide plus 10 item power reward, and legendary caches will provide plus 20 item power. I think this is, they want people doing the caches more here. Helltide cache rewards will provide a plus 20 item power reward. So again, just kind of making those more worthwhile for the players. And so that looks pretty good. There were some UI changes here, and the big one here is the stash can now be sorted and it can be filtered. So they allow you to do that, and as also with that, they're allowing players to now favorite or junk mark their items in their stash or their inventory. So favorite items cannot be salvaged. That's pretty nice. Extracted aspects with the same legendary power will be grouped together when sorted in the inventory. Still not, you know, there's no like codex or anything like that there. Still going to be taking up a lot of space. However, at least now they'll be sorted similarly. Sorting of normal affixes on items has been improved to be more consistent. And dungeon map tooltips. So dungeon map tooltips that have an active whispers associated with them will now display the aspect name and description earned when completing that dungeon as well. You know, kind of for people who are just getting into that game and unlocking all those. The stash can also be searched and filtered. So these are the changes. They didn't say anything about increasing that stash space. However, you can at least sort or search your stash space as well. Some streamer mode changes. Combat text cannot be hidden. Minimap has been zoomed out a little bit. So the end game activities. This is kind of the big part that happened here. Nightmare Sigils reward from caches will now always be within 5 levels of the highest level Nightmare dungeon the players completed. That's just to kind of keep that progression going. Gold reward has been greatly increased from those Whisper caches. Experience from Whispers and Helltides has been increased substantially. So that's pretty nice. I think I remember, and they'll probably be in the notes here, that to level to 100 should be about 40% quicker, is what they said. Or 40% compared to the time that it used to take you 40%. So much quicker, more greater than like speeding up, almost doubling the speed that you're going to get to that level 100. Whisper caches adhere to the item slots of the cache. This is because if you have been getting these, sometimes you see that you get a weapon one and you end up getting an amulet or a necklace there, and so they're kind of making it stick to what it says, right? If it says it's going to be a weapon, if it says it's going to be armor, jewelry, it's going to be that thing. Helltides now have specific icons on the maps to indicate their type, so the Helltide type. Again, I would say overall these changes seem all really much in the right direction, and it just took a lot of people not playing the game for them to kind of see it and implement all these changes. I would say that overall, very positive so far with these notes. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. The next big change is the Nightmare Dungeon changes. So Nightmare Sigils will now teleport the player directly into the dungeon. So currently you activate the sigil, you get ported outside the dungeon. So you got a loaded screen for that. And then you have another loaded screen to get in the dungeon. So now when you click the sigil, it puts you in the dungeon right away. Nightmare Dungeon events will have higher mob density, and Nightmare Dungeon event NPCs will now be more resilient and will no longer be one shot. Those are those like save the crew that went in there, those ones, they're going to be more resilient. They're not just going to get one shot. Personally, I just remember just skipping those events. It's too far out of the way. So those are some nice changes there for that. A nice one here, and they didn't is that traps will be more clear, and so easier to see those ground things. They won't like match the floor, I guess. And CC against players is greatly reduced. This is not like just one type. This is across the board. They said in the notes that all CC against players is going to be reduced. What they don't want happening after, I guess, they've started playing the game and realize how it is that sometimes you could be in a CC until your death. And so I guess they figured out that that's a bad thing. So I remember them talking about during the stream, this was like an overall thing. Less CC time against players. Not just the time, but also just the amount of CC that's in the game. So that's good to hear. Paragon Glyph experience will be increased. You'll be able to get those to level 20 much quicker. And then they've kind of messed some of the layout here. So they've completely removed objectives from a handful of dungeons. I just mentioned that about some of those objectives, those side objectives, rescue these people or whatever, those other events, they've kind of just been removed. So just find the boss. Place objectives on the critical path through the dungeon. They don't want to make it super linear, but they do want to avoid the amount of backtracking that you're doing in one of these. So you're going like to the right side and then you're coming back, and then you're going to the left side and you're coming back. They kind of want to avoid that. But also they don't want to just do like a straight line. You start here and you go straight up the path right there. They're kind of redesigning a lot of those dungeon layouts. Afflictions. So these are some of the afflictions that I think were the big ones here for players. So backstabbers, close monsters, attacks from behind cause you to become vulnerable now, instead of doing that like incredible damage that they used to do. Now makes you become vulnerable, and vulnerable damage taken is increased by a certain percent. So this does feel like it's going to still be something that, and we'll see, because they're going to talk about vulnerable changes and things like that again. But if you're a melee, it's probably a big nerf for melee users. Monsters critical strike resist, so monsters attacks reduce the damage of your critical strikes by 3 seconds. If you remember, this would be like critical strikes against monsters deal 60% less damage, and that was a big one for a lot of players. So instead of doing that, it's limited. So it's not throughout the whole dungeon that you're just doing 60% less crit damage. It is for 3 seconds by a percent, stacking up to this percent. So that's a decent change. Death Pulse prevent death pulses on monsters that have on-death explosions. So they're exploding, and then you think you're good, and then all of a sudden another explosion. That's what that's talking about. So they also have removed that. So if a monster already has an on-death explosion, whether it's poison or whatever it may be, the Death Pulse won't activate on that as well. And also prevent death pulses from spawning on top of one another. And then some lightning storm changes to those afflictions as well. Being shocked while in a bubble grants 35% movement speed for 5 seconds. And lightning storm will only start when players are in combat. So you enter a dungeon, it's not going to be there right there. You're going to be in combat. That's when it will start. And the lightning storm will only start when the player has a direct path to a bubble. This happened to me before. I, go through an area. Now it's on the other side of the wall, and I have to go around to get that. So that's pretty nice. And the movement speed is nice too when you're in there. I still don't like this one because it does make it so that it does slow you down. So I think I'm still going to avoid this one, but it's less annoying. Drifting Shade, persistent duration from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. This is that little white grayish cloud that comes up to you, kind of follows you for a long time. They've reduced that, so it's not going to follow you that long. Down by 2 seconds, so only 3 seconds. And the respawn time has been increased, so they're not going to be as prevalent. World event changes. So Legion event. The time, this is nice. I think that these changes right here are real. Like I said, there's a lot of good changes, and I think it's good. I think playing Path of Exile and not playing Diablo 4, I think this makes me want to honestly play the next Diablo, next season. So Legion events have been reduced, the time between them from 30 to 25. That's not huge major, and the warning timer has been increased from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. So there's going to be a message that appears on the screen as well for that. There's a couple of bug fixes with the pins and all that. So Legion events, like I said, have that reduction. And then also, many times if it was on the edge of your minimap, you couldn't really see it. They've kind of fixed that issue there. World bosses, this is the big one here, have been reduced from 6 hours to 3.5 hours. I still think it should be less than that. Maybe 2 hours. Maybe an hour and a half. So, there's a lot of dad gamers that play this game. They get home from work, working man gets home, working woman gets home around 4:30, 5 o'clock, and they say they just miss it, right? Now, the next one that they can catch is going to be at 9 o'clock, 9-ish, 8:30, 9 o'clock. I don't know why, just put it 2 hours. I don't see a big deal with this. The warning timer has been increased from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And fix an issue where the world boss pin would not also display, similar to the Legion events where you pin it and then it doesn't actually appear. And then again, that world boss message goes to everyone 15 minutes prior. Mounts. So mounts have been changed dramatically. So the base mount speed has been increased. The responsiveness, so mounts are less likely to get stuck or slowed down unexpectedly. And they will be better at automatically jumping over any kind of obstacles or traversals here. So the base mount speed has been increased by 14%. Top speed remains unchanged. Achieving full speed when using the mouse and keyboard has been improved. So if you're on mouse and keyboard, you have to really have that mouse right at the edge of the screen. They've kind of allowed a little bit more leeway there. You don't have to have it all the way at the edge of the screen in your mouse to go. And spurs now, so when you press your spacebar, your boosting speed on your mount, that will now break through the barricade. Cooldown has also been reduced. So a manual dismount, that means you do it, it's only 5 seconds now. A forced dismount, you get hit or whatever, it's 15 seconds. And a dismount combat skill is 3 seconds now. Those are nice changes. Town vendors, I think I spoke about this earlier. So an occultist has been set up by the Tree of Whispers. So when you're there, boom. Stashes have been added to all small towns with waypoints. And so there's an issue right now. You have to go to one of the main towns with your stashes. Additional stashes have been added to capital cities near important vendors. So no having, you go here and then you have to go all the way back into like the inn to go to your stash. So just have it right there. That's a nice little quality of life changes. Purveyors of curiosities have been set up closer to the actual like center of these towns. So Kyovashad, all these towns right here, you don't have to kind of go way out to the side for the Purveyor of Curiosities. So general improvements overall. The renown rewards will automatically be unlocked for all characters. So if you've done them once, you have them all unlocked. Scrolls of Escape for you hardcore players are going to be consumed when you disconnect the game. They did mention that if you like Alt F4 or something like that, it won't do it if you disconnect it. And go into detail about it, but that's a good quality of life change for those hardcore players. Incense will now grant an experience bonus and persist through death. Experiences bonuses will now be multiplicative with world tier. Open world bosses in world tiers 3 and 4 will now scale to the player's level. So good changes. There's also been added 2 additional character slots for people who who are getting every character to 100. Not me, but there you go. That's for some players as well. And finally, the battle pass changes. So smoldering ashes, those are those things that you had to unlock if you played season 1. By the time you needed like those other ones, you already had to be like towards the end of it. So like it really didn't help you at that point. I mean, it still helped you, I guess, to get to 100. But you're going to be able to unlock, they unlock automatically and will be spendable at early levels. And 3 new seasons blessings. So overall, guys, I think this is like a win patch. I would still hold off on handing your money over to Blizzard and getting the season pass. I don't think anyone should be getting the season pass, to be honest. I mean, I guess if you like cosmetics, but I think that, they did all these changes because they want your money. They didn't do this because you are unhappy. They did these changes, which are great, I'm not going to lie, because they want you playing and they want your money. That's what it is. So just go into that knowing that. We still have the next developer, Fireside, whatever you want to call it, next week. So we'll know more about like actual like nerfs, changes, buffs, all that stuff. But overall, I would say looking at this quickly, a lot of well-needed changes. I do want to play. I am excited. I currently am like 96 in Path of Exile, and I'm playing a lot of that. And so this will be nice, something to do. I'm kind of like in what I think I'm not almost mid-season or mid-league for Path of Exile. So being able to kind of play some Diablo 4 as well, make some content on that. That's going to be great. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for sticking around all the way here. If you're still here, make sure to like the video. I try to keep it as brief as possible, as quick and concise. Not a lot of bloat, but I hope you are well. Good luck and take care.